Good afternoon, good morning, good evening for those of you joining us across North America. We appreciate you taking time here this afternoon to hear a little bit more about what SAP is doing together with our partner Crave Infotech to, as the title indicates here, really help our life science customers who have very sensitive needs with asset management in their validated environments today, understand how they can be improving overall life cycle for their assets, as well as develop a strategy and an overall optimization of their asset environment to enable capacity that is always on. Today, as part of our presentation, a number of people here I'd like to introduce. Joining us in the background, the SAP Vice President of Digital Supply Chain, Rick Jones, and Rick's Northeast Life Sciences Sales Executive, although he's not able to join us today, is responsible for putting this together today. And that's Tom Carr, you see there in the second one. And joining me from Crave Infotech is Shrikant. Shrikant, do you want to take a minute and introduce yourself and your company?
Yeah, thank you. David. Appreciate putting this together and giving us an opportunity. I'm Shrikant Nistane. I'm Digital Transformation Architect at Crave, and I'm doing SAP for the last 25 years, and I love it. So Crave Infotech is a 13-year-old company based out of New Jersey, and we are SAP partner, and we specialize in EAM and supply chain. So from the Crave perspective, I'm going to talk a little bit more later, but we basically bring together four things. One is SAP, Intelligent Enterprise, SAP Cloud Platform, and mobile computing, RFID, and location services from companies like Zebra. And finally, the geo enablement from companies like Google and Here Technology, so that you have one comprehensive solution for EAM, field services, and supply chain.
Great, thank you, Shrikant. And I'm your host today, David Dreyer. I am as part of SAP's North America Center of Excellence for Digital Supply Chain. I also lead our North America go-to-market for Industry 4.0, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Next slide. Okay, so I'm under the general assumption that most people have heard some definition or are actively involved in some way with Industry 4.0. This is really representative of coming together of a number of technologies, largely focused up to now around the four walls of our industrial manufacturing centers and capacity. Industrial IoT is another term that's often used as part of Industry 4.0. SAP has been a part of a founding member in the European organization, the Open Industry 4.0 Alliance, where we're bringing together software vendors, middleware, operational technology, solution providers, and really with an interest in helping certainly to drive standards, but also help our customers to more easily adopt some of these new Industry 4.0 capabilities. In SAP, our go-to-market is around the expression of Industry 4.0 now for the obvious reason that our customers are actively engaged now, whether doing pilots or looking at a roadmap of adoption for these technologies. But it's important to distinguish that, and really where this can become a real differentiator for our customers, is when we look outside the strict confines of manufacturing operations and really look at what Industry 4.0 can do when we look at it from an end-to-end perspective across our entire digital supply chain. The concept of a digital thread today is increasingly well known and understood by those in manufacturing in particular as a way to streamline the process of interchange of key information as it moves along the digital thread through our supply chain so that we drive insights that we've never been able to determine before. And really ultimately with the goal of improving our overall operations. Next slide, please. So I think all of us, and certainly those of you in the life sciences industry, are aware of the drive today to really enhance our ability to deliver personalized, individualized products and treatments for our customers, the end consumer customer today. That demand is really driven off of a growing trend that is universal, where the expectations of our end customers are increasing rapidly. The expectation for always on demand delivery within increasingly tighter cycles, all of these things bear on not only our products in terms of innovation, but how we go about delivering those products to meet that end demand. And for example, here we have the CAR T therapy. I'm no expert on the science behind that, but the goal nonetheless remains how we individualize the treatment regime for a patient based on their own internal biology. And as we look at what that means in terms of our manufacturing processes, we are moving from largely make to stock capabilities to individualized make to order. And we need to better segment and understand our marketplace from the perspective of those customers that we're trying to serve. So very dynamic environment today, lots going on, but what it really all boils down to is we've got to understand where and how best to adapt our business processes to meet this new reflection of demand. Next slide, please. So perhaps some of you on the call today are already steeped in some of these transformative technologies and driving innovation through your product offerings that you're bringing to market. We see this across many in the life sciences industry, as well as other industries, where Industry 4.0 specifically is understanding transformational capabilities within our business. And it's focused, as it always should be, on the outcomes that we can create for our patients, on the experience that they have in working with our products and our solutions. That's where the gold is in terms of value creation and value-based care that we ultimately want to deliver to our end customers. So Industry 4.0, while not completely new, is perhaps different in terms of the dimensions in which we're looking to realize value from it. Next slide, please. Yeah, and so as stated here, we look at the human body as an organism that generates incredibly vast amounts of data, which has potential value used in the right way, applying certain technologies in the most non-intrusive way possible. And we see a lot of that today in terms of new product offerings that are coming out. You can see from some of the stats here that unplanned downtime within our manufacturing facilities is still a constant challenge, and one that we have not yet had a level of sophistication in terms of how we manage that to bring that into kind of a world-class performance. And as a key performance indicator, it's one that is vital to our ability to deliver the kind of capacity and throughput that we need, especially in today's market. And lots of companies looking at this, but don't feel necessarily they're really getting the competitive advantage that they expect. Well, why is that, right? And SAP and Crave Infotech, we look at these capabilities with that focus and that point in mind. This needs to be differentiating for your business and driving competitive advantage. So as we go through our content today, keep that in mind. That's really the focus and the reason that we invited you to this session today. Next slide. Yeah, and lastly here, looks like we may need one more click there. There we go. Most important, empowered people. We have essentially 4 pillars in SAP's Industry 4.0 strategy, or what we call strategic themes. And we've built this, again, as I said, beyond just what happens within the 4 walls of the factory. We recognize that we can apply these Industry 4.0 technologies and some of the collaborative capabilities that our cloud-based solutions offer today to improve the way in which we innovate and introduce new products, right? Reducing that time to market and time to value for our customers. Those 4 strategic themes, as you see here, begins with products, includes intelligent factories, of course, intelligent assets that really make up the capacity of those intelligent factories. And that's where we're going to be focusing in our session today. But always underpinned with the recognition that people make our businesses successful. What can we do? How can we leverage these new technologies and insights to improve what our employees and stakeholders are able to do to drive continuous improvement in our business and, of course, meet that demand that we talked about earlier for our consumers. So we'll have other sessions in the future where we'll delve a little bit more into these other areas. SAP also has a library of pre-recorded videos where we spent, I believe, 10 episodes going through each one of these areas. We welcome you to, we'll share a link to those and review those at your leisure. But today we're really looking at what SAP and Crave Infotech have put together to support your needs in empowering true asset management and optimal performance. Shrikant, if you want to go ahead and kick off.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that. That was very informative, helpful to understand what's coming in Industry 4.0, and SAP is definitely bringing a lot into, especially into the EAM space. So thank you very much. That sets the tone for the what I'm going to speak. So today we are focusing on enterprise asset management. So this is one slide which basically recently Boston Consulting Group did a survey or a review of where the pharma industries, and they basically put together on the x-axis these are the different business processes or the groups of processes, and then on the y-axis it's basically where they are and what they need to achieve for getting into the higher level. So they call level 1, 2, 3, 4. And I have highlighted the middle pillar is the asset performance and automation. You can see there are several things they believe each organization should have implemented in order to achieve that specific level. And they have also identified all the ones which are in red. They believe that most of the organization need to adapt these specific process excellences or process implementation or automation in order to achieve that level. And I'm going to talk more about this and also sharing how our customers are achieving that. So if you see on the level 1 itself, it's a very simple, basically trigger-based maintenance, mirror stop elimination, and basic automation. So those steps. And then in the level 2, you have condition monitoring and predictive maintenance, AI breakdown assistance, then process automation, which is inspection, warehouse, and meter transfer, sampling. And they believe most of the organization have that. The another one is the cobots for maintenance and cleaning. And then in the level 3, there is suite simulators like HVAC airflows, continuous process improvements. So I'm going to focus on most of these while I talk about the asset performance and automation. This is a little bit older slide. Last year I haven't updated this, but this is one of my favorite slide because this clearly lays out what's happening into the pharma world as far as the compliance is concerned. So if you see, this graph indicates how many violations or how many 483s are issued by FDA to different companies and in which area. So these are all the areas. So procedure not in writing, investigations of discrepancies, absence of written procedures, cleaning, sanitization, maintenance. So these are different buckets where they have classified them, and you see there are a lot of them. These are the citations which cause them to get FDA. The plants gets out of compliance, and a lot of times they cannot export to those countries where they lose the compliance. So it can be FDAs for US, but there is European compliance, there is Asian compliance for specific countries, but the focus is on FDA. So when we looked at this whole, of course, these are boiled down to the two specific 21 FRs, CFR Part 11. So that talks about the validations, audit trail, legacy systems, copies of records, and record retention. And then the second one is 21 CFR Part 11. Sorry, my bad. It's Part 211. I missed one number. I think I was playing with this deck and probably I cut that off. So part 211, that's all talks about the material examination, labeling, issuing, packaging, equipment construction, equipment cleaning and maintenance. So they both uh, um, overlap heavily. So, and we'll also refer these in our next discussion. So what we did is we took all these citations and we identified how SAP and the tool sets we have, how they can help. So there are 4 areas where all of these gets classified. And one is calibration, change control management, AHU filter management, and intelligent asset management. And what we did is we did the mapping of all these citations or 483 codes with specific application. So for calibration, these are, and we'll share this with you after the webinar, so you will have those details. But this is how every one of those citations we have mapped, and they can be minimized, eliminated using these different offerings from SAP. Now let's talk about a success story. So there is a global pharma company who is committed to providing affordable and innovative medicine for healthier lives. So the project, we are working with them for last 5 years. We started with calibration. That was the first project we did, and basically help them to automate the end-to-end calibration process, including workflows. Then we did preventive maintenance, breakdown maintenance, facility maintenance, and finally the warehouse management. So these all applications, the key part is they all work offline. They have, and I'm going to show you some of the screens, but they have check by and enter by, check by validation. They have workflows built in. So the person who is out in the field, he can do everything offline. All of these validations and the capturing the details, everything on the shop floor, including printing the labels. So all of that can be done offline on the shop floor, including the workflow, printing, and the approval process. There are a lot of Zebra devices involved. ET50 is a tablet. PT40 is a printer, which is basically walks into the J1 Zone 2 area or Zone 2 Dev 2 area, and also extremely rugged. TC8300 is the handheld device, and ZT230 is another printer for printing labels. So where does the journey start? So let's talk about the, hold on a second, very sensitive. The maintenance journey and asset optimization. So we call this the maturity curve. So of course, a lot of the organizations are still into the reactive mode. There are some who has gone into the predictive. There are very few into the condition. There are several who have gone into the preventive maintenance. So we understand the cycle. We understand when the maintenance needs to happen. They are pre-planned. Some of them have implemented condition-based. So you are continuously observing the status of the assets and react to predetermined conditions and events. So this condition-based can be through IoT, can be through several other mechanisms, which I'm going to talk into the next slide. And finally, there are very few who have achieved the next level of expertise into this evolution curve is the predictive maintenance. And that's what SAP brings to the table, especially on the predictive side. So what are the different ways and the tools available to achieve um, the excellence through this curve? So first is, of course, we all need system of records, and I'm sure uh, you are using different, probably maybe using the same as SAP's EAM solution, which is plant maintenance and quality management, or you might be using some other non-SAP solutions for your EAM. Um, but when you go to the S4, you have now opportunity to utilize those benefits of integration, which is absolutely necessary. You want to make sure that every activity performed by the every user into the EM space is reflected into your financials instantaneously. So there is no integration, there is no workflow, there is no offline processes involved. And that's what we bring to the table using SAP's EAM, end-to-end EAM. So first is the system of records. So equipment master, BOM, spares, order processing, calibration, breakdown, corrective, facility. Everything is available, and that's what is our ERP. Once you have the ERP in place, then comes the how we are going to acquire the data. So data acquisition, and it can be using your mobility solution. So that can be field mobility. Definitely you need offline capabilities. You need real-time connectivity, real-time updates, and label printing. So that's your mobile workforce or management. So SAP has asset manager, which also includes the calibration functionality. Then you have facilities management and the routes manager, which is basically inspections and capturing the. We have used that for facility maintenance also. The second mechanism of capturing data, so once you have the data, you basically needs to perform the risk and the strategy assessment. And that's where SAP's solution ASPM, Asset Strategy and Performance Management, which helps you to do the RCM, reliability centered maintenance. So now, traditionally, the RCM, failure mode and effect analysis, has been done in third party systems outside. One of the key reasons why they always failed or they were not able to realize the full potential is because uh, it was not easy to bring the analysis and the feedback into SAP. And that always remained challenged, and people were not able to realize the full potential. But now with ASPM, you can achieve that. So you can, we as a partner, we have modeled several frequently used equipment like pumps and valves and rotating equipments. The RCM templates already built into our ASPM platform, which you can leverage. And then you can bring in, we can help you to define the failure mode and effect analysis and the validations to be built into. And then those automatically flows into SAP to create a notification, create a work order, create an incident into the SAP. So that whole feedback loop is already built into. If And then another option is to bring the data through IoT. A lot of you are already adopting IoT with smart sensors, edge sensors. If not, also getting that data through your SCADA systems. There are a lot of common buses available now, and that data is also acquired through the acquisition process. Finally, once you settle with that, if you are into the medical devices space, or if you have equipment which you use from other manufacturers, you would like to know how they are performing, we have offerings for collaboration for better information, that is Asset Intelligence Network. We call it AIN. And this helps us to keep the whole life cycle of the information of the assets between different constituents, so manufacturer, distributor, and retailer, and also the end user at the same platform. So let's say tomorrow there is a recall on specific devices, you are not scrambling, or your customers are not scrambling, that all information is available at the same place. So that's the once we have the data available, then it comes for validation, analysis, and see how we can use. And that's where the predictive analytics comes into picture. SAP has pretty strong predictive analytic capabilities now. These are part of the intelligent asset management that basically feeds the information from ASPM, FEMA, RCM into the predictive space. And you can bring in from other side also. So failure mode analysis, fin- uh, fingerprint management, indicator forecasting, and route-based alerts. So there are several models already available which can be leveraged and tuned for your specific need. Of course, you need to have good data to predict. So that takes time. We can take some data if you have from your historical system, or you will have to slowly start using that as the earlier part like ASPM and the ERP is settles down. Finally, once you have that, it's time to take the corrective actions. So predictive analytics, performance and and strategy assessment will produce recommendations and corrective actions. And those corrective actions needs to be brought back into the mobile solution so that you complete that loop. So this is what we call uh, an end-to-end toolkit for you to manage your maintenance excellence and go through those maintenance excellence phases using SAP solutions available. So these are the I might be repeating some of this stuff, but there are four key technology enablers which impact the asset management. So IoT, we talked about that, artificial intelligence and machine learning, which is also part of the um, predictive maintenance and ASPM, digital twin, so ITOT, and 3D visualization, augmented reality. So that is also now embedded. So if you have any, so one of the challenge companies are facing is you're getting new generation workforce. They are not as experienced as what the knowledge base used to be. So it's very important for us to have as many tools available for them to give something which they can use and carry out the function as efficiently as somebody who is highly experienced. And that's where 3D visualization and augmented reality comes into picture. That basically helps you to transform that knowledge base to a less knowledgeable person carry out the work with the similar level of efficiency. And those tools are already embedded into the SAP offerings. This is a quick diagram about SAP's intelligent asset management. So you have Asset Central at the bottom. That's basically common data foundation. You have ASPM, Asset Strategy and Performance Management. I spoke about that. That includes RCM and FMEA and RBI and RCA. And then we have Asset Intelligent Network. We have PDMS and digital manufacturing cloud, and that basically integrates with different constituents around, including integration with SAP backend. Either it can be ECC or it can be S4 HANA, or it can also integrate with non-SAP. So if you have a complex scenario where you have multiple systems, because you go through acquisition, merger and acquisitions, you might have acquired somebody and there is a time for them to bring onto the same platform as SAP. You don't have to worry about, we can bring that data into the AI and IAM and give you the same output as what you are getting from ECC and S4. So now I want to deep dive into some of these components. The first is the asset manager. This is the offline cloud-based mobile solution available from SAP. As probably you know, this has almost every feature we can look for: notification management, order management. Now there is quality assurance also included as part of the newer release. And most important is the signature capture, so that we can meet the 21 CFR Part 11 requirements. This is a screenshot about the quality management is included in newer release. Signature capture is included. document management and SAP archive links is also included. Now, this is a where we add value, right? So SAP Asset Manager is standard out of the box, but we bring in that experience of implementing more than 7 pharma companies, the EAM solutions. So we have already customized and predefined template and content available for pharma companies where we did check, entered by and check by workflow. So you can see there is a very clearly defined workflow. This is an example of calibration, but you have similar for all the other maintenance related applications where there is a check by and there is a verified by. So somebody enters and another person checks. These are also barcode enabled, so you can minimize entries as much as possible. User can log in. So another IP and the value addition we brings to the table is so the person who has already logged in, he's entering the details. That's fine. That's all tracked. But when he's on the shop floor and he wants to get the data verified by his supervisor or the quality manager, he doesn't have to go to his office or go to somewhere else and look at another document. On the same tablet, he can go in and enter his credentials, and they get verified even in the offline mode, and then he can do the verification. So there is a workflow already built here. These are just some of the examples. And then you can have multiple stage workflow. So you will have validation at the beginning by himself, the engineer who is working on it. Then there will be once the readings are entered, there will be validation by quality assurance manager, and then finally the validation by the operations before they bring the equipment back into the service. So all that workflow, you can do it from one place. This is an example of the augmented reality, how they are integrated into the offerings. The next is the Asset Central Foundation. Here you see this is the central database into the intelligent asset management. This can be replicated from SAP, and there is a two-way feed, so to ensure that any changes both ways are in sync. So includes the classes. There is a separate layer which you don't find into the plant maintenance is the asset modeling, which is very specific to intelligent asset management or Asset Central Foundation. And then you have equipments. There are alerts, spares, and then finally the transaction data, notification, work orders, and so forth. So a lot of the information is common with SAP. You can keep that in sync, and then you build upon from there so that you can support your ASPM, AIN, and PDMS. This is how you can build models. So you use the Asset Central functionality and build different models, different templates, and those templates can be used similar to what we used to do in plant maintenance. Those templates can be used for similar type of asset groups. A quick overview of the asset strategy and performance management. Of course, this is all about risk assessment and taking corrective actions, right? And there are 4 methods available: reliability centered maintenance, RCM. We all are familiar with that. Failure mode and effective analysis, root cause analysis, and then finally risk-based inspections. And they all feed to the preventive maintenance, or it can be corrective maintenance, depends upon what the challenge is, and executing the work onto the mobile. So that was the overview of what functionality is available, how we have helped. Now, a little bit about us. So what we are passionate about at Crave Infotech, as I mentioned at the beginning in my introduction, we are passionate about SAP Intelligent Enterprise. We have several prepackaged solutions. So we only talked about today is the enterprise asset management, but in the enterprise asset management also, we have several solutions which fill the gap of what the white space areas SAP has, like planning workbench and geo enablement. So and this additional content to the asset manager so that they are suitable for the pharma industry. They help you to meet the requirements. The solutions we have implemented, they have gone, those companies and those organizations have gone through FDA approval, several of their plants. So they have already gone through the process and they are accepted and they are ready to go. But in addition to the EAM, we do have solution for warehouse management, like managing the spares and the shop floor inventory on a mobile device through EWM or warehouse management. Some of the list of our customers. So you'll see here a lot of pharma, Dr. Reddy's and Sanofi, Noble Biocare, and Sun Pharmaceuticals. And we are working with few others into the US and the European side now. They are not here in the list. They are in the pipeline and they are in the process of getting implementation. Finally, when we as a Crave Infotech, we are not just looking at one side of it or just the EAM, but when we come, we understand end to end. So plant maintenance, work management. We discuss about work management. Then all the mobile applications available. The focus is the asset manager because we can help you to meet the compliance requirement. I'm sure you have thought about how will it work from the quality compliance for because it is on the cloud, and that is not a challenge because we have processes already implemented so that you don't have to go through the quarterly, you don't have to go through regular compliance audits. Once you have OQ and PQ and the IQ are completed, that should stand. And the solution also helps you to meet with the 21 CFR Part 11 requirements for validations of the signature and the reports. We also have customized reports available in the backend so that you can get the information related to the historical information about the logins, the signature capture, and the digital signatures are captured into the SAP or the system of your record, so you can go back and review them. This is the list of all of our different apps which are available. So with that, we'll open up for Q&A. These are our contacts. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to David or Tom, myself, for any questions and follow-up.
Great, Shrikant. Thank you for that presentation. And for those of you in attendance today, we will share this content through a link. As I mentioned earlier, we also have some other SAP content where we review the entire Industry 4.Now portfolio and solution horizon that may be of interest to you, and happy to explore greater detail at your discretion. Any questions, you can certainly type into the chat window there. Apologies that we don't have active voice here for you to speak, but certainly welcome any comments. We'll hold the line open here for a few minutes. And if you want to follow up with us afterwards, as Shrikant said, happy to take your outreach at that time as well. And again, appreciate you making time to join us today and learn more about this SAP and Crave Infotech offering to really drive continuous improvement and optimization of the asset portfolio.
I don't think we have any questions, David, so we can probably close. We are on time. Close the session, and we'll share the recording afterwards with everybody, and we'll do the follow-up.
Yeah, that sounds good, Shrikant. So again, thank you everyone for joining, and we look forward to speaking to you again in the future.